Yes, ladies and gentlemen, as we all know, the first half of the 25-26 season has come to an end. Barcelona's last game against Villarreal ended the year of 2025 and ended the first half of the season, where Barcelona are top of the league in La Liga, 15th place in the Champions League, through to the 32nd round of La Copa del Rey, and a lot of optimism for us Barcelona fans going into the new year, going into the second half of this season. But, of course, looking at how this first half of the season ended and overall how it went through the beginning when La Liga started to where we are now, it was rough. It was rough. If it was to be described in one word, I would say mid. I wouldn't really say it was good enough, anywhere to the standards that we were last season under Hansi Flick, nowhere near. But we've seen gradual improvement throughout the season where we can go in with optimism into the new year that this team can improve. That with the players available, without any injury crisis, and of course fixing some things that when it comes to the tactics and the mentality, this team can improve and, do what they did last season and be as successful as they were last season. So in this video, I quickly just want to go over what went through in the first half of the season, the key players, the standouts that I saw in the first half of the season that played an important role for Barcelona and where we are now and where we ended in 2025, and my expectations and what I really want to see going into the new year and going into the second half of the season. So let's just get right into it. So, as we all know, the first half of the season, bro, for La Liga, it started off pretty solid. We got a 3-0 win against Mallorca. We got a 3-2 win against Levante. And then the next game was a 1-1 tie against Rayo Vallecano. Then 6-0 against Valencia. So the first couple games of La Liga before our first Champions League fixture. Pretty solid games, some good results. Obviously, the Rayo one was a very frustrating one. But I think from the beginning, we could really see that there were problems with Barcelona's defense, because I remember very clearly, this was months ago, so I'm trying to remember very clearly, but what I do remember was that there were definitely moments where Mallorca, Levante exposed our high line. I mean, Levante definitely did, because, they scored 2 on us, right? Obviously some weird goals, some ass goals, I remember that, but they were getting through us, right? I saw problems with the defense very early on in the season. We all saw the problems early on into the season, but as to that point, it wasn't as bad as when we started getting close later into the season, like when we played against the PSG, when we played against Sevilla, right? But we had a really solid start to the season where, we were top of the league. We were, competing against Real Madrid under Xabi Alonso, who, of course, are going to want to get their get back from last season, and, of course, want to try to win the league as well. The first big match of the season for Barcelona was against Newcastle, which, I'll be honest, I was kind of shook about, because going away to St. James Park, it's going to be a tough ass match, a very physical team. It was mind versus matter at that point, right there. Barcelona with the mindset, with the mentality, with the IQ, versus a physical team like Newcastle are on their, I forgot their coach's name, Eddie Howe, and it was a tough game for sure. I think a lot of people, I would say, don't give credit to where it's due for Newcastle. As much as we were definitely better than them, they definitely gave us a tough game, right? It took a banger from Rashford, and of course a great goal from the first goal, a header from Rashford to get us into that game as well. But they definitely had their moments. Strong Garcia came up big in that game, and we got a massive win going away at St. James Park. I think that was Lamine Yamal's first ever game against. No, Lamine didn't play. I'm bugging. Lamine didn't even play. I'm bugging right now. See, it's been already so long that I'm already forgetting. But I remember masterclass from Pedri, Frankie De Jong, and just dominating that midfield, showing them levels. Marcus Rashford with the bangers. Koundé had a very solid performance before he just, I don't know what happened to him. Joan Garcia with massive saves as well. The defense was pretty solid until the end. But our first big match of the season, and we passed it with flying colors. We were definitely the better team, and we deserved to win. And from there, you're just going, we're like, all right, optimism. All right, we're going to get better. We're going to get better. The defensive line is probably going to get better. And we're seeing that we had a consistent rate in La Liga until the PSG game, which was the second big game of the season for the Champions League against the European champions, basically. And obviously, the main talk about this was the Champions League final from last year. This should have been the Champions League final. What could have been done, right? So it was definitely a big game for me. It was more about bragging rights rather than really caring about. Of course, I want the 3 points for the Champions League, 100% for the table, so we can be as high as possible. But I was looking at it a lot with bragging rights because, of the sufferings we've been going through against PSG in these last couple of years, right? It's not been the greatest, bro. So I wanted to get our get back, and of course show that, prove like, all right, look, listen, we played them in the Champions League final, and which I'm so confident in that moment that we would have beat them. We would have beat them in the final, right? So a lot of storylines going into this game against PSG, but it was a lose-lose game for Barcelona. We all know it was a lose-lose game for Barcelona because if we had won, everyone would have blamed they didn't have the strongest team, which was true. They didn't have anywhere near the strongest team. They were missing a lot of their key players. And if we have lost, then everyone would have roasted us like they did that we lost against their B team, their C team, whatever you want to call it. And I think this was the first game, 100% the first game where we just saw that Barcelona are not at the level in the Champions League, that we have to make major improvements if we want to try and win this Champions League. Of course, there were definitely bad individual performances. The players that you expected to show up didn't really show up. It was a very tough match. I think the first 20 minutes, if I remember right, we were dominant. We were a better team. We could have scored. We were all over them. But then after that, the story of how this season has gone so far is where we start off very solid. We press very high. We press like a unit. We're doing what we need to do to suffocate the team to get something from this game, and then we shut down, and then we allow the other team to get comfortable and come at us, right? I think that's been the story of this first half of the season, where we're not consistent when it comes to our work rate to try and get something from the game, and that was very evident against PSG, because PSG, man, in that second half, they just controlled the game at home, bro. At home, at our ground. Not even our ground, somewhere in Montjuic, okay? But still, realistically, we're at home, right? And, man, it was an embarrassing match. I was very disappointed with the team at that point. We all were, and improvements have to be made. And then, a couple of days later, Sevilla away. The worst loss of the season so far. The worst loss of the season, man. The most embarrassing match, a 4-1 loss from Barcelona, where realistically it should have ended more. It should have, if they had better quality up top, those 4 goals, man, it probably would have been doubled. I'm gonna be honest. Like, we were disgusting defensively. They were just thrashing us. Of course, in that second half, we didn't take any of our chances. We could have potentially made a comeback and definitely have gotten a result in that game for sure. We wasted a lot of chances, but still, everyone knows that the deserved winner of that game was Sevilla. They were all over us. So a disgusting response from Barcelona after such an embarrassing loss against PSG. And again, those when the biggest question marks of the season started coming through. That's when everyone was talking about Hansi Flick out. If Hansi doesn't change his tactics, if he's too stubborn, if he's going to stick stubborn, he has to go. He has to go. I've criticized Flick as well. I've never been in the train that he has to leave. Hell no. Those are just the reactionary fans. I've never been on the train that we have to get rid of him. But of course, I wanted to see changes because we got exposed more against Sevilla. Because against PSG, it was more of a work rate kind of loss where they wanted it more. They were controlling more of us and they pressed us very well. While with Sevilla, it was just a defensive disaster class where the high line was completely exposed. PSG really didn't expose our high line, but Sevilla clearly did. And this is something we were seeing even before Sevilla, even before PSG. It was a problem since the beginning of the season, but we've gotten away with results. But then we go against a PSG side who are very strong, and of course, can bring down your morale because you lost a big game, a game that you were supposed to win, expected to win. It brings down your morale, and then the next game, mentally you're not there. I don't know what the problem was. A lot of problems, a lot of individual disaster classes, but clearly they weren't up here, and then boom, they throw away the game in an embarrassing manner, right? So that's when the biggest criticism of the season started coming through, that we had to change the tactics, we had to change the high line, we had to change personnel, because if we don't stand a chance. We don't stand a chance, right? In that game, if I remember correctly, we didn't have Lamine. We didn't have Lamine for this game. Yeah, we didn't have Lamine. Yeah, it was a terrible match. Like, Araujo got booked second half, gives up a stupid penalty. Pedri with a great assist to Rashford, but defensively we're all over the place. Chesney made some good saves, but still, when you get scored 4 on, like, really can't say you had a masterclass or anything. But Lewo missed a penalty to get us back into the game. Like, we missed our chances, but Sevilla in that first half should have scored more realistically, right? So we all remember that game. Next week, we fought. We play against Girona. Still problems. We got the victory, but a late winner from Ronald Araujo, but still we had problems. We still had problems. Olympiacos, a very solid game. We were all over them. We destroyed them 6-1. Of course, they got a red card, right? So it makes it easier for us. So it's expected for us to win, but a good confidence boost. Now, after that, El Clásico. So the Champions League week, I think they played Juventus and then they played us. We played Olympiacos and then they played us, and then we played them. So we expected the morale and everything that we got from a Clásico. I mean, from the Champions League win in the midweek, going into the Champions against this Real Madrid team. We expected we could get something, but clearly we didn't. Clearly we didn't. Hey, I mean, it was a bad performance from Barcelona. Honestly, Real Madrid in that first half obviously dominated us. They were all over us. I wouldn't even say like it was a matter of we didn't have a chance. We didn't stand the chance them in the first half. We definitely had our chances. We definitely messed up a lot of chances for sure. But it was just a matter of we weren't up for the occasion. Individuals didn't step up. We weren't the better team. We had to do better. And in that second half, what else could we do against Getafe? I mean, what can we do against Atletico Madrid? What can we do? What can we do when Real Madrid are just parking the bus at that point? Because second half, I don't care what anyone says, Madrid were just defending for their lives. They were defending a result. They didn't look like they actually wanted more, honestly, because every counterattack really didn't do much for them. But yeah, I mean, a bad loss from Barcelona. I remember saying that game was like, usually when you lose a Clásico, it breaks your heart, right? But in that point, I was just disappointed. I was just disappointed that the team didn't step up, right? Usually it would break my heart because it's just a matter of, it's split feelings when it comes to a Clásico. You can have a feeling where you lost, but you could have deserved the win, where like you're just so sad because you could have won the game, right? And obviously bragging rights at the end of the day. But then the other part where you're mad, you're pissed off, you're very disappointed in the team because they weren't up for the occasion. And that's the worst feeling, that your team is not up for the occasion. And we clearly weren't. We clearly weren't. We didn't do enough to get a result. And then boom. And then that's, if I remember correctly, they had a 5-point gap, 6-point gap, something like that. They had a good margin gap where obviously it was looking like Real Madrid were going to stay top until until the end of the 2025 and the end of the first half of the season. But of course, as we all know, it didn't end that way, right? Later, 3-1 win against Elche. I low-key forgot about this game. Ferran, who cares? 3-1 win against Elche, and then another Champions League game. It was a must-win to give our chances to go into the top 8, because looking at our chances now, it's looking tough. And Club Brugge, the way to sum up that game was Lamine Yamal masterclass, and he was failed because Lamine Yamal is the reason we were even in that game. Defensive disaster class yet again. High line completely exposed yet again. Defensively all over the place. Mentally not anywhere near there. And the only reason we were in this match in the first place was because of Lamine Yamal. Lamine Yamal was incredible. That's really much we can sum up. But a very disappointing result against Club Brugge, because you're just like, what is happening with this team, bro? And again, the main question marks. The system must be changed. As much as the system must be changed in terms of the high line, it's about the attitude and the work rate and everything that the players up top are doing as well, because that's been one of the main criticisms that we've been seeing throughout this first half of the season, is that the press was awful. We didn't press as a unit. There were players that were just walking around. We all know that. We all know the individuals who have been guilty of that, right? So Club Brugge just exposed it even more, right? So, all right. Next up, 4-2 win against Celta Vigo. Again, a back and forth game. It was a pretty good performance. We didn't have Pedri. That's when Pedri went out with an injury. Pedri wasn't available for Club Brugge as well. But if I remember right, this was a Frankie de Jong masterclass, and I think Dani Olmo had to play. Yeah, Dani Olmo had to play into the midfield as well because Casado went out with an injury. Frankie de Jong got a red card, but still he had a great, amazing game. But yeah, a pretty entertaining match from Barcelona. I think we did the hat trick from Lewandowski. I would say that we were the better team that day, and that's when I started to see, okay, look, we're seeing signs of improvement. We're seeing signs that, okay, maybe this team is learning, right? Then maybe this team is learning. And then we return to the Camp Nou. On November 22nd, Saturday, November 22nd, 2025, against Athletic Club, a very anticipated game, not only because we're back at the Camp Nou, but because we had to play against none other than the Snake, Nico Williams. I'm joking when I call him the Snake, but we had to play against Nico Williams, Athletic Club, and we utterly destroyed them 4-0. A brace from Ferran Torres, a goal from Lewandowski, and a goal from Fermin. It was a beautiful game to return to the Camp Nou, and a great result, and a happy day, honestly. We're back at home, and of course, only 45,000 capacity, of course. But, yeah, a great day to come back and, of course, fight for our chances, because, I mean, I'm not really sure at this point where Madrid were. But, yeah, we need to fight for the league. And then, man, Champions League. Another Champions League night in this, what I was saying. I think I said earlier PSG was the worst performance, but no, this was the worst performance. This Chelsea game was the worst performance of the season, the most disappointing, disgusting performance from Barcelona that we've seen all season. All season. A lot of individuals were disaster. Of course, Araujo and the whole red card. No Pedri as well. That obviously plays a big role. And I think this game was a matter of Barcelona were trying to rely on individuals, while Chelsea had a clear strategy and worked as a team, as a unit, to try and get a result from this game, right? Of course, the red card is the main question as to how this game could have gone, because, yes, we went down by 2 in the first half, but there were still chances of, if you had a full team, you have a little halftime talk, little pep talk, and then boom, in the second half you can do better, right? But Araujo's red card just killed any of that, any type of aspiration to make a comeback. It killed it all. It killed it all. We all know. And, of course, everything that happened after. But, yeah, the worst game from Barcelona this season. And, again, for me, just showed that we were just not ready. We are not ready to play in the Champions League. We're not ready to compete for this competition unless major changes are made. And the main problem that I had from that game, because it wasn't the high line, it was the attitude and the pressing from the team. It was the work rate from the team that just wasn't at the standards of top European clubs. That we go up against an Arsenal, a Chelsea, Chelsea that we saw in this game, against a PSG, again, at their best, when we go up against a Bayern Munich, we're not ready. We're not up for the occasion. We're going to get exposed. And this just comes down to things have to be done differently in training as well. Things have to change massively if we want to try and compete in Europe. And we saw in this game yet again that, we have better quality players. I genuinely believe we have better quality players. But it's just a matter of they had a game plan, everyone was doing their job, and we weren't. We were relying on Lamine to save us. We were relying on all other players to save us. It just doesn't work well. At the end of the day, yes, individuals can play a massive role, but it's all about the team, how the team plays. And again, another moment in the season where it just gets exposed. You're just like, all right, what is happening? And then Hansi Flick dropped some bars. He dropped some bars. After Barca's defeat against Chelsea, he said, "We will see a better Barca. This is what I can promise." Bars. Mother effing bars. And since then, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games in a row. 7. What? What did I say? 7 wins in a row. 7 games in a row. 7 wins in a row. Hansi Flick completed his promise and had us win 7 games in a row, to the point where now we're top of the league. Of course, thank you to Real Madrid for fumbling it and being ass as well. But this allowed us to go top of the league. A beautiful response from the team that, all right, mistakes were made, but things have to improve. And I think one of the major things as well was Rafinha's return, for sure, 100%. Juan Garcia's return. Those were definitely a major factor as to Barcelona's change in mentality, their work rate, and, of course, improvement in the footballing aspect as well, to get all these victories to now be top of the table, and 2025 at top of the table. But Deportivo Alaves, a great win. Atletico Madrid, another big game where we deservedly won that game. We were better than Atletico Madrid. We scored some great goals, and it showed the clear difference, bro. It showed the clear difference. Of course, we struggled as well. I think the one main takeaway from this game that we got was in the second half, those last 15 to 20 minutes, the defensive masterclass that Barcelona put up. Of course, they had their chances. Definitely, they had their chances. They could have scored. They could have made a comeback 100%. But Barcelona, at that point, were very solid. Gerard Maldini, what a game he had. Pedri, what a beautiful game he had. Rafinha, great goal as well. Like, they definitely had their moments where they could have scored, but I think it really showed Barcelona just learning from their mistakes and trying to hold the lead, trying to hold an important win against a pretty big team, right? Atletico Madrid has been a team that I've criticized through the whole season, since last season as well, saying they're not a big team, or saying that, look, this shouldn't be a massive test. But considering Barcelona's form this season, this was a big test for us again. Like before, I'd be confident like we can beat them, but considering our form and how easily we expose, and considering the system that Atletico Madrid plays, kind of our kryptonite, I was worried, right? But still, a beautiful response from Barcelona. And from there, 5-3 win against Real Betis. Beautiful win. I lucky forgot this game. 5-3, damn. Ferran hat-trick. Oh, Rooney with a beautiful assist to Ferran. Lamine penalty. Okay. Oh yeah, this is where the last couple of minutes. Yeah, we just completely fumbled. Like we were just like falling asleep, and that's another criticism I 100% have. Like last 10 to 15 minutes, what are we doing, bro? Like yes, we got a lot of these wins, but a lot of times, even against Frankfurt, against Atletico Madrid, like literally these 3 games in a row. Against Osasuna, let me try to remember. Rafinha brace. I'm trying to remember. This is all from the top of my head. No, Osasuna were just garbage this game. They didn't do anything this game. Okay, not against Osasuna. I mean, kind of. I think they tried. They tried and attempted, but not really much. Barcelona, Guadalajara, and Villarreal. Okay, so these 3 games in a row, these 4 games, 3 games right here. These 3 games in a row, I can really remember where we deserved the win. We were better than them. But, man, there were just moments where we just completely fall asleep, bro. The last 15, 20 minutes, we're just falling asleep. And you're just like, what the hell are we doing? So that's something that we definitely had to work on in the next season, bro. How to kill off games. Because, holy shit, bro. How many times we were almost like just giving us heart attacks. But then a 2-0 win against Osasuna. These 2 games were just like haram ball, like defensive ass games. Where even Frankfurt, 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 Osasuna, and Guadalajara, just man, they were just defending for their lives. And then recently against Villarreal, which was the last game of 2025, they got a clear red card, and from there it was just dominant performance from Barcelona. Where you're just like, all right. I mean, I'll give props to Villarreal. They still attempted to play football, not just defend for their lives, but. Come on, we at that point after they got that red card, they just stood no chance. We were all over them, but and now it leads us to how we ended the first half of the season. Barcelona first, top of the table with 46 points, 4-point gap against Real Madrid. Of course, Real Madrid just fumbled it towards in their last couple games. They fumbled it a lot, tying a lot of 3 games in a row in La Liga, if I remember right. But Real Madrid fumbled it, and we took advantage. So that's what we can give credit to the team, right? 100%. But of course, not only is it about the of the Liga, it also comes down to the Champions League. We're in 15th place. Again, not great performances from Barcelona. Champions League has not been the greatest at all, and clearly the table is showing that. We still have a chance of finishing in the top 8. We just have to win our next 2 games, which is against Slavia Prague and Copenhagen, if I remember right. Copenhagen, whatever you say his name, however you say their name. And where's the other one? Oh yeah, and Slavia Prague. So we have to win these 2 games, and we have to win them by a good margin. If we wanna actually like get a chance of finishing in the top 8, we have to win those games by a good margin, because the goal difference right now isn't the greatest. So Barcelona had to step up massively for those games, and again, it's still a chance, but it's looking tough. Because of course all these other teams are still close by as well. So we have to like hope that Atletico Madrid, Real Madrid, Inter, one of these teams like fumble it as well, which is looking tough because from now on they have pretty winnable games, honestly. I mean, Inter play Arsenal next, they can drop some points there, so hopefully, but for the most part they have winnable games where they could possibly be guaranteed top 8. So in the worst case, we can say we're gonna end up in the final 16. Or from this blue area right here, as you can see, and we're gonna have to play an extra 16th match, around a 16th match stretch. Hey, what can we do? Well, this is the results that we get considering our form in the Champions League, right? So it's just about all right, doing it now, and let's get the work done. And I'm confident still, bro. When it comes to the Champions League, I'm confident. I think the main things that have been affecting us this season, of course, have been injuries, and of course, just change of mentality and change of things in personnels and a lot of things have to be changed, and we've seen gradual improvement for Barcelona, and I'm just confident going to the second season that we're going to improve even more, where to the point where we can compete against these top European sides, hopefully, right? Well, I think PSG is a clear example of that. Of course, PSG were able to splash some money in January for sure, and I don't think we're going to be able to do that, but I'm still confident in the team and the players that we have, so I think we still have a good chance, hopefully, of finishing top 8, but it's looking tough. If not, play a qualifying match for the round of 16, and then I'm confident that we can get that job done. Hopefully. But yeah, and then of course when it comes to the Copa del Rey, Barcelona are through to the next round after the beat Guadalajara. If I'm not, I said that around 30, the 32nd round, right? If I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I think they are. Yeah, they should be in the round of 36, the next round, the 32nd, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, Copa, right, round of 36. So the next, I'm shit bugging, I'm tweaking right now, bro. So they're going to the round of 16 then? I don't know, bro. We're through to the next round of the Copa. Let's just end it at that. But before anything, I want to talk about the top 3 players that I think that have been sensational so far this season. And I'm picking these 3 players just because I like them a lot, and I'm not just trying to discredit any other player. So you guys will see. But one of them is 100% Pedri Gonzalez. I think he's been incredible so far this season. He's been amazing so far this season. Not incredible. He's been spectacular. And anything that just has to do with him being the best and showing why he's the best, Pedri Gonzalez has been that player this season. And we've seen when he had his little injury where he wasn't available that we lose our identity in the midfield, that we're clearly missing a key part in the midfield. The centerpiece of the team is Pedri Gonzalez. Without him, this midfield struggles. We saw Frankie de Jong and Eddie Garcia play together. It looked tough. It looked rough. So Pedri Gonzalez plays a key role for Barcelona, and we're clearly seeing since last season and going into the season why Hansi Flick has played major trust in him and why he loves him and why he's been a key figure for Barcelona's success in the 24-25 season and now going into this season. He's been amazing. Best midfielder in the world. You guys already know I'm always going to glaze the guy every day of the week. Next up is Joan Garcia. Joan Garcia, again, as much as we've been having a lot of defensive problems, he's been the standout. He's been the guy that we're seeing, all right, we can trust the guy. If we're going to have defensive problems, if we're going to be all over the place, if we're going to have to, take the risk with the high-risk, high-reward system that we play with the high line, we can at least have confidence that we have a goalkeeper that can step up. A goalkeeper that can come up big for us and, help us win games. We've seen how many times teams have to rely on their goalkeepers to win them games. We've seen it with Real Madrid, with Thibaut Courtois countless times. We saw it last season in the Champions League with Donnarumma, with PSG. I think most predominantly against Arsenal. What a performance he had against Arsenal, especially at the Parc des Princes. He made major saves. A goalkeeper, it could be the difference as much as scoring goals and having defensive masterclasses, blah, blah, blah. A goalkeeper can have a major difference between winning, being successful, and not being successful. And Joan Garcia is showing that he's going to bring us that confidence going into this second half of the season that he can step up. He's played some big games so far this season. Of course, he's also missed some games as well, but I'm confident with the guys so much, man. It's just a major improvement from what we saw with Szczesny and Ter Stegen, that this guy, I think he's going to come up very big for us, and we can have confidence in him. That's the main thing. Confidence, bro. The one thing you always want from your goalkeeper is confidence, and he's been showing so far this season, so he's been amazing. And the third player is Eddie Garcia. I think the most consistent player so far this season. He's been exceptional this season. Any position that Hansi Flick has asked him to play, he's played it, and he's done very well. Of course, there's still things he could improve on. I think technically on the ball, he can improve a little bit, maybe a little bit in confidence and, being a little bit more press resistant, especially when he plays in the midfield. But overall, his ball playing ability is still amazing. His work rate is amazing. His aggressiveness, his mentality, everything about the guy is just... It's what you want from a professional footballer. It's what you want from a role player that's just going to play a big role for Barcelona. Last season, he was more of a role player where he was coming off the bench, but this season, he's been a starter. And again, either a right back, center defensive mid, wherever you want to play him, even a left back at one point of the season, he's played it and he's done well. He's done so well. And the major 360 he's had in his career since joining Barcelona up to now has been a sight to see, bro. It's been amazing. So Eddie Garcia, I'll give him so much props. He's been incredible so far this season. One of my favorite players so far this season. And I just expect even bigger things for him going into the future. But he's been amazing. Of course, again, these are the top 3 players that I'm personally picking. I'm not discrediting at all the likes of Frank de Jong, who's been great so far, who's been great this season as well. Lamine Yamal, who's been big for us. Rafinha, it's just unfortunate he's been gone out for an injury. He hasn't played. I wouldn't say not played a major role, but obviously not seen enough from him that we would have wanted to see. He's been injured. What else can I really say? The defense has just been very shaky. I can't really pick many defenders besides Eddie Garcia, but I'm giving my props to other players as well. But these are the top 3 players that I personally like a lot. But to end it off, my expectations for next season, what I want from Barcelona next season, next season for the next year, and going into the crunch time is 1, learning how to kill off games. Please learn how to kill off games, guys. You guys do great for 90 minutes, and then boom, you fall asleep. You just like think, okay, game's done. Let's just end it there. We don't have to work anymore. No. It's about having the same mentality going into the match and ending the match. Like the whole 90 minutes, you have to work your asses off and fight for like it's a title. I love when they say, when the manager says we're gonna play like as if it was a final, because it should be like that. You should always go into every single game wanting to win, no matter what. Even if you have a 12-point gap against Real Madrid, if that was a reality, you still go into those games where you want to make it even further. You want to win. You want to show them that you're the dominant team. And you only show that by winning. So the major thing we have to change is last 10, 15 minutes, step it up, bro. Step it up. I don't know, just turn on an extra gas in your tank and just, don't fumble. That's the one thing for sure. The next up is definitely I want to see better from individuals. I think Lamine Yamal has been great. I don't think we've seen the best of him. I know his numbers speak for itself. I think his numbers definitely have improved from what we saw from last year. I think it's more of an eye test thing for me, at least. But I think he has still been great so far this season. But I think we're still yet to see blonde hair Lamine Yamal like he was last season. I think we're still yet to see that, and I'm excited. I'm excited what this guy's going to do. Rafinha, hopefully more consistent and no injuries, hopefully with the guy, because he plays a major role. Marcus Rashford has started very solid this season, and I expect him to step it up even more into the second half, especially if he wants to stay. Everyone's wanting him to stay. Now show it in the crunch time, please. Ferran Torres, listen, you're going to be the substitute for right now for Lewandowski, because we know Lewandowski can't play every single game, so you're going to have to step up majorly. We've seen the faults that you've had, especially in the Champions League against Chelsea, so now you have to step up massively. The likes of the defense, like Koundé, he's been improving, but we're still yet to see the best of him. Kubarsi has been shaky. We're still yet to see the best of him. Gerard Martin, we're seeing a lot from him. He's been doing great playing the new role as a center back. Now we're going to see how he does during crunch time, during the big games, because let's be honest, as much as he's been doing great, have we really been tested against him? We played Atletico Madrid with him there, but we still yet to see the biggest test. These last couple games were definitely difficult. I'm not taking any credit of that because it's wonderful performances, but crunch time, we know it's a different level. It's a different type of pressure. We're going to see how he does for there. Balde, definitely some improvements need to be made for his game overall, especially in the final third. But individuals, there's definitely still room for improvement. Hansi Flick, I can trust that he will get the best out of them. He did it last year, which came out of nowhere. So I'm expecting the same thing going into the second half of the season. And I mean, like, just going into the season overall, it was difficult to say that, all right, we have to replicate exactly what we did last season and more, like winning the Champions League, right? It's difficult to say that because the season that Hansi Flick had in his first season came out of nowhere and was just so spectacular. Just like, all right, that's awesome. Let's try to feed off that. Let's try to improve. Of course, that means also having expectation of signings, backings and things like that. And Hansi Flick, let's be honest, hasn't had that to the fullest extent as other managers have in the world of football for the top teams in Europe, right? So what Hansi Flick has been doing has been amazing. He's worked for what he's had, brought up young talents like Giroud, like Gerard Martin, Joffre. We're seeing a lot of young talents go into Rooney, giving him chances as well. We're seeing the young talents actually play a role for Barcelona, and I think they're going to play a big role as well going to the second half of the season because we had to rely on them. But I'm still very confident, man. I'm still very confident that this team can have a lot of success. The next big test will be for the Supercopa de España, semifinals against Athletic Club, and then either a final between Atletico Madrid or Real Madrid. We'll see. This is looking kind of shaky who will get to that final because Real Madrid haven't been looking the best, and Atletico Madrid obviously destroyed them this season 5-2. So we'll see who will get there, who will come up on top in that game. But that will be the first real big test, and then we'll see from there where we land in the Champions League. If we have to play an extra round for the round of 16, let's see who we go up against, but I'm expecting that we win that game no matter what. And then, of course, just keeping the momentum because for the league right now, it's all on our hands right now. We can, if we throw it away, it's all on us. Like, it's going to be all on us. And unless we see clear robberies, at least we see a clear robbery, then that's a different story. But right now, it's all on us to win these games. It's all on us to continue top of the league. And we'll see. Maybe it'll come down to a Clásico later in the season at the Camp Nou to decide who wins the league or how tight it's going to be. But for right now, it's all in our hands. The league is all in our hands. For the Copa del Rey, I mean, we'll see who we get drawn to, but I'm still confident we should get to the minimum final in the competition. And for the Champions League, it's looking very tough, but I'm still confident, man. If we can have a healthy squad, fully fit squad, everyone available, I think we can compete. Of course, things have to change. I think Hansi Flick has to stop being stubborn at times, and I think the players have learned a lesson from last year against Inter, and I'm sure Hansi has learned his lesson and will change things. I'm sure we'll change things. But yeah, guys, overall, those were my thoughts for the first half of the season. Let me know down in the comments what you guys thought, how you guys felt of the first half of the season. Again, I would rate it as mid. I wouldn't say it was the most spectacular first half of the season or anything major where like it's clear cut that we're going to win everything this year. I think there's definitely a lot of room for improvement and going into the second half of the season. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Do you guys think we had a great first half of the season? Were we terrible first half of the season? Whatever you guys think, let me know down in the comments. Let me know your top 3 players that you actually liked a lot this first half of the season. Who you guys thought were the best 3 players and your expectations going into 2026 for this team. Our expectation in the Champions League, in La Liga, in the Copa del Rey, all the trophies, Supercopa de España in January. Let me know all that in the comments below. Make sure to like, subscribe, favorite, hit the notification bell for everything upload. And if I don't see you guys before the new year, Happy New Year. I love you guys so much. Thank you for all the support you've been having. I think I will drop a video before the new year, 100%. But still, much love to you guys. Take care and peace.